Every speech has an introduction and conclusion, but there are certain things that every good speaker should avoid when delivering their introduction and conclusion to make themselves a better speaker. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the essential things that you should have in your introduction and conclusion. The first thing that every introduction should have is to not introduce yourself in the first sentence. So oftentimes when we were kids, we all can remember that one time when we were in class and someone would introduce themselves as, "Hi, my name is so-and-so and I'm going to be talking about blank." That is what you should not do. When you're giving your introduction for a speech, you should have some sort of attention grabber to get the audience's attention from the beginning. And then you can introduce yourself later on in the speech. But your main priority should be to get the audience's attention. And then the second main purpose of the introduction should be to give the audience a reason to listen. So even if you grab their attention right off the beginning, you want to make sure that you keep it by relating your speech to your audience. So if you're talking about something like a sport, for example, you want to make sure that you're relating that to your audience so that that way they have a reason to listen going on for the rest of the speech. Another key purpose of an introduction is to introduce the subject. So like I said, if you're talking about a sport, my speech is about golf. I want to make sure that within my introduction, I'm introducing my subject as golf and that my audience knows that I'm going to be talking about golf for the duration of my speech. Another thing you want to do in your introduction is to establish credibility. So every audience looks at the speaker and they want to have someone that they're going to believe, someone that they think is going to have proper knowledge about the subject. So you want to make sure that you establish your credibility, whether it's through your own personal anecdote or through other sources that you have in your speech. And the final thing that your introduction should do is to preview the main ideas. So you don't necessarily want to go over your main ideas in the introduction, but you want to make sure that you at least present some of them. That way that the audience knows what you're going to be talking about for the rest of the speech. Moving on to conclusion. A good conclusion should summarize the speech. So you don't want to just you don't want to verbatim say again what you said for the rest of the speech, but you want to make sure that you're re-emphasizing the central idea that you're talking about. So if you're talking about, like for me, golf, I want to make sure that I'm re-emphasizing my main points of, golf and how it has progressed over time. And then every good conclusion should provide closure. So you want to, when you're at the end of your speech, you want to start giving verbal and nonverbal signals. That way that your audience knows that the speech is coming to an end. And you also want to motivate your audience to respond. So for mine, I'm talking about golf. So maybe at the end, I want to give to the audience a call to action to maybe have them go out and try golf for themselves. And then other things that are common mistakes in conclusion is ending with "in conclusion" or asking about questions at the end. These are things that you want to try to avoid, and just have it. It causes for the speech to have not as much fluidity, and it just makes it a little worse in the end. So these are some tips and tricks that I found helpful myself and that I hope that you find helpful too. Thanks.